So, welcome to my first podcast.
I'm so excited to be here.
I'm super nervous. So, this is our first time running through it. I guess we'll figure out this Instagram thing later so we don't always have to go live.
Right.
But yeah, we're going to be doing it on where like it's cooking and stuff. So people can pull up where we're in the kitchen on like Sunday. But this is an introduction. So I wanted to like, I don't know, just kind of like go over why I'm doing it. And I wanted to like have you on for my first guest for a few reasons. One, I want to invite you as much as you want to come on and help me with the cooking session of it, you know, if you would like to. Because we already know that you're an amazing cook.
So and, I've been told.
Did you say something?
I say, so I have been told. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm just turning my thing up as loud as it'll go. Corey, more. I need chargers for the phone.
I'm sorry, I can't get to my my microphone.
It's okay. I can hear you enough, I think. So I pre-recorded you before I left your house the other day, making your like amazing gravy. And it's like homemade and it's like the best gravy. So I just want to let you know, like I'll be hopefully adding that to the segment as I edit it or whatever.
Okay.
Can you see all this stuff in the camera? Yeah. So cool. Let's get to it. So I wanted to start this podcast because, as you know, I kind of went through a struggle with mental health, and I definitely want to get like more aware, and I wanted to start a conversation. And it's not just a regular conversation. It'll be like really cool, and we'll talk about like different things. But I wanted to have the first conversation with you because as a mother, it had to been like hard watching me go through that. And I wanted to like get your opinion. And then we had a great conversation the other day. And I kind of wanted to touch bases on that. And I also wanted to do it because I think a lot of people in our generation don't necessarily know, like your generation didn't talk as much to us. So we have like a misperception of like you guys being so strong, like you raised 13 children. And, you know, like I didn't never really see you like break or anything, but to talk to you through my experience, you know, you kind of let me in on it and you let me know that, you know, you definitely have moments and, you know, there were things that you definitely did to help to ease the frustration of it all. So, yeah. So I guess a little bit like, as you know, like we grew up like in San Diego. You grew up in Memphis. So like the environment was like, you know, harsh. And then like the way we grew up and then with all boys, mostly in our family, you kind of only raising a few girls. I mean, as a mother in itself, having all those boys, like, I just wanted you to like, and you stuck with us. Like, you still have everyone's back. And I think it's really important for other mothers to know that it's okay to stick with their children, because I think a lot of mothers give up on them, you know? So, yeah, I was thinking I need to listen to something to have this conversation. It already making me emotional because it was such a hard journey. But I'm super excited that I'm so like different these days, and going through the journey made me such a better person, able to think differently and to feel differently and to kind of reteach myself to re-believe in myself and to, get it right this time. Like, I messed it all up, that, and I lost it all. So to get it right this time is so important. So if I can help other people before they get to their 911, where they're so overwhelmed and so stressed out that they can't even grasp what's going on around them, or they just don't have the know-how, or they're not like, we're not really taught to ask for help or anything like that. So that's like why it's really important for me to have this conversation, and to have it with you, I think is important because it will help to bridge the gap, you know? Like, so yeah. So I wrote a few questions, and let's see.
Okay, let me just start by saying to see you here today, the woman that you have become, and to see your emotions, which growing up you suppressed a lot, and to see you be able to deal with emotion, it's wonderful. And never think that emotions will make you weak or whatever. Showing your emotion really makes you strong. It takes a strong person to be real with themselves. So I just want to say that on the outset.
Yeah. So how did you do it all these years? I mean, 13 children, you're from Memphis. You grew up in a big family also. Like, what allowed you to kind of push through all these years?
Well, if I were to look back at my childhood, which I have been doing recently, to answer some of the questions like, who am I? I am going through that journey. Why am I here? Type thing. And so I had to look back to see where I came from, to see where I want to go, to see where I am. And when I look back at my childhood, I had a really fantastic childhood. I had a loving mother. I had a dysfunctional father. In these days, you guys would call him an alcoholic. In those
Yeah.
days, he was just called drunk. So, but he was loving and he was kind. So when I look back at my childhood, I wouldn't change a thing really. I came from uh, a five sibling group. I was the youngest in the group. I had one brother left. And we have always been very, very close as a family. My one regret in life is that you guys didn't get to really know and love the family, because I took you away. Well, that was before you were born. I moved to California because I
But
was.
I think, like, I'm gonna interrupt you just for a little bit, not to interrupt you. But I don't think that should be a regret, because God has, what's for you. So it's like, what if these people were in our lives and then our lives turned out completely different? So the journey that you took us on, yeah, maybe would have been different with other people in our lives. But I have to say, we had an amazing childhood growing up. You were an amazing mother. We definitely had our difficulties and we went through our things. And I definitely saw you go through with the boys. big time. But
Yes,
we were cool until later. And I
right.
think that more so had to do with me coming to you, because I think there were some things that I didn't open up to you about, honestly, and like let you know how I felt about certain things. But recently, in trying to do that, you definitely told me, like, there's no boundaries. There's no boundaries. And so I don't think me and you will ever have that conversation. And one thing I think is good about therapy and getting therapy is that one of the things that you have to learn is that you're the one that got therapy. And that's like one of the things that I talk about also, because I feel like people don't really talk about all the transitions and all the different steps to therapy. Like they talk about therapy and then that's it. But it's really so much more. It's like the build up to get to the therapy, and then going through the therapy and allowing the help and accepting the help, transitioning back into the world. And like I said, you're the only one that had the therapy. So it's kind of like, how do you deal with people? And then it's like they haven't gone through the steps as you've changed, they haven't changed. So one of the good things that my therapist, we talked about after it was kind of like the end of my session was kind of like, I was kind of going back to her and telling her how I was still triggered a little bit and I wasn't perfect. I feel like, I'm learning and growing, but I'm definitely still having like moments and things of that nature. And she said to me, like, do you feel it necessary for people, like, to prove yourself to people? Like, do you feel it now to go back to people because you want them to see who you are now? And I had to think about it for a second. I was like, I did up until you said it, and now I don't feel like I need to prove myself to people, because it's kind of like your journey is your journey and what God has for you, like, so it's kind of like in going through this, you're going to lose people, you're going to lose things, but it's kind of like you want to come out better in the end and hope the people that stay by your side truly loves you and accepts all of you. And those are the people you really want in your life. So it kind of like balances it out, you know?
Yeah, and it is. It's a weeding out process, and when you go through therapy, and I don't know if I ever told you this before or not, but I've gone through therapy. Um, and it is a journey. So I understand where you are. I'm so happy that you were able to make that decision to go, that you recognize that you had a problem and you dealt with it. And I think a lot of people, because of the stigma that's attached to therapy, do not really reach out because they're afraid. Am I going to be accepted? Are people going to label me as crazy?
Yeah.
So they don't.
Well, they're already painting you as that. I mean, how many people call me crazy and all kinds of things. So you're already getting called crazy. You already, acting out, and you're already doing these things, You used
And,
to
and
joke
it's
with me
okay.
in the process saying, like, my social worker and like this, like that. So, I mean, you're already showing people a side of you that not necessarily is you, but it kind of feels good a little bit to let go, because one thing that got you there was how people perceive you and how you're allowing people to kind of, like dictate, like your mind, like the manipulation with the men and like all of these other things. You were, yeah, my mind just, but yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, and it's okay. It's okay to be called crazy. My nickname growing up. Everybody called me Jean. But you know what was in front of it? It was Crazy Jean. So I grew up with
yeah,
the stigma of Crazy Jean, and that's okay because it made me it put me in a place, but it put me in a place that I could come out of. It put me in a place probably that wasn't very good, but it put me in a place where I didn't care. I didn't care what
Yeah.
they did. I didn't care, you know. So when they would address me as Crazy Jean, I would say, yeah, what? Oh, I admit it. Yeah, I'm different. So what? What's wrong with you guys? So that's the way I approach the world. And so I understand. I understand. So, but so many people never get to that point, you know,
Yeah.
always to please the other person or to keep up with the Joneses or whatever. But you don't get to know yourself, you know, until truly you reach that point in life and you look in that mirror and say, who am I? Why am
Yeah.
I doing this? What's wrong with me? And then when you can begin to talk and answer those questions for yourself, it's when you really begin to get help, you know. And so again, I'm very proud of you for doing that.
Thank you. And I'm proud of you also because you are also helping people, but in another way. You became a pastor
Yes.
and you have a church. And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, actually, my pastorship was quite an accident. I was Mother's Day 2014, and I shouldn't say this in public, but we were going to the funeral home. I mean, to the cemetery to visit our loved ones, our deceased loved ones, and I really didn't want to go. I wanted to go to church, and I had things planned at church, and I really didn't want to go, but I did. I went, and this is the first time in all those years. My mom passed away in 1983, and so that's the first time in all those years I've gone back to the cemetery because I convinced myself, and I still believe that my mother wasn't there. She visited me after she passed away. And so I knew that she was okay. So I really didn't want to go. And so once we were there, we visited everybody, and I have a lot of family members there. So we visited everyone, and as we were getting ready to leave, we were at my sister's and brother. They were buried side by side, and we began to pray, the departing prayer. And as we prayed, everybody prayed, and then I prayed. And I said, I don't know where it came from, but it just came out. And I said, if anybody here don't know the Lord and want to be saved, God is here. He's waiting on you. And much to my surprise, two people in the group said, I want to be saved. And then I prayed the prayer for them. And then we began to walk away. And I told them, get in a good Bible, believing church, you know, and da 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 da, read your Bible. And I'm walking away, and I turned around and I haphazardly said, if you want me to teach you Bible study, I'm willing to do that. If you guys want me to show you the Bible. And they said they did. And so I said, okay. So then we started meeting at my house for Bible study. And from that, it led into a full-fledged ministry and a church. So we were born in a cemetery. Not many churches can say that they they were founded in a cemetery. But we had two converts, and then, as you know, a few years later, we were able to baptize those people. And thank you and your daughter. And you know, what did we have? About 9 family members to be baptized on that day, and they accept the Lord. So it's been a journey. It's been an unexpected journey, but the Lord really prepared me for it when I went back to school and got my PhD, and had no idea this is where he was leading me. So he'll lead you where he wants you to go. You just have to be faithful and take those hard knocks.
Yeah. Like I can definitely say that this is really hard for me because I'm so shy. So to put my life out there to the world is definitely a huge, but I felt like this was bigger than me. Like
Yeah,
after going my journey, I kept asking myself, like, why is all this happening to me? Like, why me? Why me? Like, I'm such a good person. Why do people feel a need to attack me or to, treat me a certain way or put me in a box, thinking that I'm something, maybe because of my looks or whatever, but everyone knows, I mean, don't know, but no one knows your story for real. Like you're on the outside looking in, and then like people try to like tell you who you are. And so yeah, when it was like when I was going through my journey, one of the things that I kept noticing was like the more that I talked to people is the more they talked to me. And the more that I opened up and told people, like, as you know, when like Corey got sick,
And it's okay.
got sick, when she got type 1 diabetes,
You got her
this
diagnosis.
guy got her.
It's okay.
It still hurts me because it's like you worry about them every day. It never gets like old. You're always worried about her number, she's gonna be okay. But like the more I talked about that, at first I didn't open up at all. I kind of kept everything in because I just didn't want people to judge her. Like saying like, I don't know, she's her, I don't know, food or, you know, I just didn't want, and then like I wanted her, she was older. She was like, you know, high school, senior in high school. So I wanted her to be able to choose her own journey and her path and figure out if she was okay telling people. At first, I was more so the one that like wanted her to like go to the bathroom and doing it, her numbers and stuff like that, to give her privacy and things of that nature. And then she got so strong and was like, do it at the table. And, you know, she's so open with it and wanted to share her story with other people. So that's the reason I wanted to do this, like diabetes awareness. Like there were so many people, like her teachers and stuff, that didn't realize what was going on. And they would like not let her go to the, like leave to like check her numbers. Like I would have to call up there. They tried to fail her. Like a lot of people like didn't like understand it or even know. I don't think that they read that. Well, I have a friend, a teacher, and he said they don't read it. They don't read the medical. They don't know who in their class have who and what. They said it's too much. And I said, well, why can't you just get a short form that says the name of the student and the problem? Like, why do you need a long medical list? Even if they do provide you with that, so you know that their medical treatment and stuff. What about just a short form that says the name of the student and what they have? Because if that student passes out in your class or something because you're being mean, like that's crazy. So yeah, the more that I opened up about my journey and about the things that I went through, like I remember like talking to my friend and I was telling him like how I wake up in the middle of the night crying, how I had like went through so much hurt and pain. And he was like, he's done the same thing too, which I knew that he would wake up in the morning because, you know, we got to live in the same complex and we'll be going through stuff together. So, you know, we'll wake up very early in the morning and go down, you know, he'll be washing his car, or like doing something like that. And we'll start to chill and like, you know, like it was a very early morning. We were both up stressed, but I didn't know that like he woke up like crying at night or anything. Like I had got so far gone from men and all the experiences that I went through that it was really hard for me to even look at man in a certain way. So I thought it would be really cool, maybe not this, to like do a little game, because like we grew up with so many men and people have like these perceptions of them, but it's so but if you tell the story of your boys now
Well, we don't want to bore you.
we would know that, you know, these perceptions are not all the way 100. So not right now, but a little bit later. But anyway, I was saying that this led me up to like doing this conversation and this blog because I don't feel like people have this. I don't feel like they have somewhere to go to just let loose. I don't feel like, and I feel like the people that are talking about it, I'm not downplaying anyone's anxiety or anything like that, but you're rich and you're like, you know, like Charlemagne the God or something, like, you know, I don't know, you don't know who that is, but it's like, you have anxiety about sending your kid to a private rich school. You know what I mean? Like, what is your anxiety about it getting shot up? I mean, we have the same anxiety about the school getting shot up, but we were literally getting our school shot up, which is so crazy. You said that you didn't know that our schools were getting shot up so much, but in San Diego, like here, it's news. In San Diego, it's not news. You know what I mean? Like, it happens all the time. So it's like when I came out here, even walking to the car, like I was like, oh my God, they get to walk to their car every day, like after every event. But of course, we wasn't really telling you that, you know, like I remember one day you pulled up eating chicken coming to get us from the party, and we're like, what are you doing? You're like, what? We're like, they're shooting out here. We told you to wait at the 7-Eleven. What are you doing coming over here? And you were like, what? We were like, mama.
There's so much you
But
guys
yeah,
do.
but all of that, you know, all of that, and then like the men and the manipulation and growing up, and you know my story with that, and you know, we'll get into that more later. But it's kind of like, yeah, God brought me, I don't know, you know, going through all of that. I think that he wanted me to tell my story for women like us, for women that it's hard. We grew up in a hard environment. We grew up not learning how to communicate. We lose so much because we're angry and we're hurt. And I'm not anymore, but I was, and I still have my moments. Like the other day I called you because again, I don't know why people feel a need to attack me, but I went on vacation, you know, our little trip every year. And the girl went into, I'm trying to F her man and all of this. And then the other girl was like, you know, just started with me for no reason about saying miss, you know what I'm saying? Or something like that in front of someone's name. So it's kind of like, you're attacking me for what, you know? So I called you after that because prior to that, a week before, I was chilling and I was hanging out and we're all having a debate or whatever. And the guy felt a need to call me a lunatic, you know, and I get it. Hurt people want to hurt other people, or they feel like they're being funny. And I get, like, maybe she was having a bad day. She had a hard trip getting there. And I know that I was all about law and the one she doesn't really like. So it's kind of like, attack India for what? But everyone that really knows me knows I have a really bad temper. So when people attack me, if I can't physically attack back, because I grew up with all boys, you know, as you know, and you know that they didn't really communicate with me. They more so handled me, you know? So it caused me growing up to want to win. Well, no, I was actually fine for a long time until I got to the point where I was done. I was done people pushing me around. I was done with them telling me who I was. I was done being pushed around at work. I was done with I was done with men treating me a certain way. I was just completely done. So, yeah. So yeah, being attacked, I called you the other day and we were having the conversation about like why this happens or whatever. And you had said some interesting points, and I just kind of wanted you to kind of reiterate on our conversation if you remember it at all.
Well, I'll tell you this, I don't remember. Because a lot of times when I'm speaking under the unction of the Holy Spirit, and he's giving me what to say. And a lot of times when you're under that divine inspiration, you don't remember because God is speaking to you, to that person for that moment. So I don't really remember. And the first time I was told that by a prophet, I didn't understand it, but now I understand it because it was for you. That message was for you. So, and I can remember most of it. I know I told you some of my brokenness and some of my dark places in life, and they have been many. And I was surprised to learn that you guys had never seen me cry. I didn't know that. As much as I cried and beat a pillow and just did crazy things, running through the house. This one time I can remember I only had boys. I had 4 sons. And I was just so stressed out. And I started running through the house, just screaming, just screaming. I cried to the top of my voice, just screaming, just hitting and knocking on, just screaming. And I looked around and I had four little boys walking behind me screaming. They were running, they were screaming. They thought it was a fun game. So when I looked around and saw them, that got rid of all that. And now when I'm stressed, I can go back to that moment. I can go back and I can see them, those little stair steps.
Come here for a second, please. Go ahead, Mama.
And I can see them, that little stair step of them, walking and screaming. And I mean, they were really screaming. They were into this thing. So yeah. So, we all deal with stress in different ways. I was surprised when you told me you never seen me cry before, as much as I cried. So yeah, and then Dwayne said something similar the other day. I'm like, for real? But he did tell me that he would hear me pray in the middle of the night, and when we'd be going through hard times, and he said, and I would hear you say, Lord, how am I going to feed all these children? You got to put food on the table. He would tell me my prayers, and he said he would just lay there sometime and listen to me, and he wanted to help. And of course, he was a child and couldn't. That meant a lot to me. But he said the same thing. I never saw you stress. I never saw you cry. I saw you mean. I saw you crazy. I never really saw the real emotion. I'm like, really? So
yeah, I don't think you recognized it, but I think that I talked to you all the sign about your sign and all that, and I don't think you ever realized like you were a Leo and how you raised all fire signs, and they were all kind of had how you were able to kind of build a small little army. And then here I come, Miss Emotional Pisces. I was like, I must have drove y'all crazy. But I do remember you crying one time. And that one time actually shaped how I treated you. And I don't know if I ever told you, but do you remember when we were in Memphis? And I don't know if we were living there because we wasn't there long. And the boys, they took their bikes and they ran through the corner store or something, and they stole like
chips and yeah. I remember.
Yeah.
That. Yeah.
And I was young. I couldn't have been, I don't know, I was a baby. Like I couldn't have been no more than 4 or 5.
Mom passed when you were 5, so and we left. So you were probably 4 or 5.
Yeah. And I remember like you were crying in the middle of the night, and I ran up to you and I said, Mama, what's wrong? And I said, don't be sad or something. And you were like, your brothers or something. You didn't really explain to me, but you were like something about your brothers. And I made you a promise right then and there. And I go, I'll never make you cry or hurt you like that. Do you remember that?
I do, now that you said it, and you're bringing tears to my eyes. Yeah, I do.
And that has kind of shaped my personality because I just never wanted to bring harm or, I never wanted to see you cry. I know I have made you cry over the last couple of years, going through what I've gone through. And I'm getting it back with Corey now. So.
Yeah, that payback is not easy. So.
But I think people take that kindness and want to use it for weakness. But one thing you know about me growing up, I'm not weak at all. And I'm very strong. But I hide it a lot because I don't know. I mean, I guess I was always the quiet one, and I grew up in a big family with a lot of boys and stuff. So it was hard to get a point across, I guess. So I guess I just stopped trying. And I realized I was a lot smarter, quieter, and I learned more, and I was able to see more, being quiet as opposed to always having a say or whatever. But it didn't help
Well, you always
in.
ran the house. Your brothers just doted on you, and you were always fighting back because you didn't want that, but you were their baby sister, and everybody just doted and idolized you. So you got away with murder with them. And
Yeah, in
so,
front of your face, behind your back, no.
well, I had to tell them because they were trying to make you a boy. They were going to make sure that you never let a man treat you. And this is what they told me. They were never going to let them make sure that you were strong enough to never let a man treat you the way they treated women. And so, and I think that was their issue. They knew they were out there. Anyway, that's another conversation a different day. But yeah.
No, actually, that conversation is very important because I was listening to TD Jakes the other day, and he was saying that how sometimes it's not you're the seed, but your soil. And sometimes you have to stop blaming God and blame your soil. But that's okay. My soil was okay. I actually enjoyed growing up with my brothers and all of that. But the one thing that they thought that they were doing was creating this strong woman. Ooh, Amor, this computer went out. All the batteries are going dead. The one thing that they thought that they were doing was creating like this strong woman, and they did. They did a good job of creating a strong woman. But what they didn't realize that they were doing was putting insecurities in me. They were like, I wasn't okay growing up sometimes, like being, because I was always told, no, you can't be sexy. No, you can't, you know what I mean? No, you can't wear that lipstick. No, so it made, for a long time, it took a while for me to find my womanness. You know what I'm saying? I had grew up like a tomboy, and still today, like I'll throw some sweats and my man be like, you need to go. But I'll be like, I don't feel like getting dressed, But I think that's very important because it's kind of like they shaped me without knowing that they did. And Dwayne, I hated that he went. Well, I guess I don't know. People they want to go on the show, so they don't mind when they name. They can't wait to tell their stories. But
That's gonna be lies.
oh,
Yeah,
we'll get into that. But Dwayne, he'd be on his thing and he'd be like, she's my best work ever. And I hate when he says that because they all have women and like they're cool and like all of this. And here I go, like still not married, like still, and it's kind of like, yeah, you did a good job of making me not know how to accept the things as a woman. But they didn't see that. They saw it as, we grew up in this strong neighborhood. We grew up in this gangster environment. And if she's going to survive it and if she's not going to get, attacked in certain ways, or they don't want to have to go out and hurt people or things of that nature, then she needs to act a certain way. And of course, me being the youngest, not always wanting to fight, I'm smarter, I'll just go somewhere else or like, do something else. But they shaped me. And it was hard after going through some experiences older. Like before, it didn't bother me. It was kind of like, that's how I grew up and that's what that is. And it's no big deal. Like it is what it is. You feel me? Like that's how we grew up. But the more experiences you go through and then you start being treated a certain way by men, and you're kind of like, okay, now you start doing the work, knowing you're trying to figure out why these things happening. Is it me? Is it them? Am I really crazy? Like they say, you know what I'm saying? Like everything that, so it's kind of like, and then you figure out, well, damn, that way that I grew up wasn't necessarily okay. Like that way that them teaching me, them, like Dwayne's always coming, like if a man cheat on you, leave. And that's right. You're supposed to make boundaries and respect for yourself and things of that nature. But they didn't leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like they have their women and they taught me something that they didn't necessarily follow. And it's kind of like, well, I get what you're saying, leave, but at the same time, like, doesn't you know what I'm saying? Like, aren't you supposed to stick in there? And aren't you supposed to, no one's supposed to disrespect you or anything like that. But what about the other things that you didn't teach me after that leave? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
you
how to
only gave me
survive
like a
after.
one worder.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, now that I'm older, I want a husband, I want a family, you know, I pushed it all away. Like, I think I definitely know that God definitely, I think, like I talked to you about this the other day, like the last guy that I was dating, you know, we'll just call him Shoes. And like, he would tell me all the time, like, you're okay to be with me, like, you're okay, you know, like, and he would try to get me, like, but at the same time, like, he wasn't necessarily like being supportive, and he get upset, you know, because he grew, you know, we definitely had like a similar story, like he lost his brother to alcohol, like, you know, so God definitely sent me someone who could understand my pain and my journey. And he has sent me so many signs, like my brother's birthday, I didn't know they were like born on the same date, like he sent them to me like on my birthday, like as a gift, I don't know, you know. And I was telling you, like, one day that I was talking to him, and I don't talk about this often because people think that you're crazy, and I never really heard God's voice before. So that's, you know, tell people like, oh, God talked to you or whatever. But and it's so weird now because I'm gonna go back to it. It's like I have the question now, like, well, if you didn't listen to God when He told you something, does that mean? And a lot of people like you're doomed and it's not gonna get the blessings, or God? I've been hearing both. You're either doomed, you're not gonna get the lessons, and you're not gonna get the abundance, or that God, you know, you're like I've been looking at them, like, you know, like I look at you and it's like, you forgave me, you know, we're here, we're talking, you know. So let's say if, you know, God is like your parent, then, you know, He is going to give you another chance, especially when He see that you did the work and like you're a better person. Like, why wouldn't He want the best and the happiness for you, even if He did speak to you and you didn't? But anyways, that's a whole nother conversation that we'll have one day and get your opinion on that one. But I was speaking to him one day, and me and Corey was in the kitchen, and I was telling you how, like, she was cooking or something, and I don't know, we were just fumbling around the kitchen, and I was on the phone with him, and it's like we first kind of met, probably not even a month, but it was so weird. When we first met, I knew, like, I don't know, it was just something. Like, I was looking for him before I knew who he was, but I didn't even know who I was looking for. You know what I'm saying? It was just like he came up to my bar one day, and then all of a sudden I'm like always looking for this guy, but I don't really know what he looks like. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Anything. I just know that, like, I got this feeling from him, and then like he was cute, and then like I just didn't know. But anyway, we started talking. I don't know how we got together. Well, he got my number or whatever. So like we're in the kitchen, and Corey, like, she's doing stuff, I'm doing stuff, and he's telling me how he's here. Hold on, this thing is reloading.